We're interested in the formation of marine snow. We know this is a natural phenomena, but we want to know how it's impacted by the presence of the oil and the dispersant. And we're finding that in some cases the dispersant enhances the formation of the snow, and we're finding in some cases that it's being quite disruptive. And it depends on whether you're in a coastal environment or the open ocean, which is really interesting, as well as whether you're in the surface ocean versus the deep ocean. And so we're trying to understand what the processes are behind that and what the mechanisms are behind that. We know that marine snow formation is a natural process, as I said, and that's part of the food web for a lot of microscopic organisms as well as invertebrates, and that's something that they eat as part of their daily diet. So if we add oil to that marine snow, that's going to have an impact on the food web, and then if you add oil plus dispersant, then again you have another impact on the environment. So while we're not actually studying the fish and the invertebrates and things like that, we're studying what they eat, and so we feel that's an important step in the whole process. We have a very talented group of biologists and chemists who, after about 6 months, finally learned how to talk to each other. We talk very different languages, but we're talking to each other. And we've taken a three-tier approach. So we've got some small-scale, 1 millimeter experiments, medium, and then our large experiments are at more than 100 litres each. And so we're working at different scales, and we're also looking at phytoplankton versus bacteria. We're looking at different kinds of oil, we're looking at different kinds of dispersant, and a lot of very serious laboratory studies, very little field work, a lot of collaborations with each other and sending samples all over the country, and really trying to understand in a very minute detail what's going on and how this marine snow forms and how it breaks apart, and then what are the critical, we're calling them trigger points, what really leads to the formation and what leads to the disruption. For me, I'm really surprised at how easily we can produce this marine snow material in the laboratory. I thought that was going to be our greatest challenge, but we've been able to do that quite well. For me, I'm also been surprised at how many organisms really don't care about the oil. I mean, there's a lot of phytoplankton that will ingest and egest the oil, and it just doesn't worry them. That really surprised me. The other thing that surprised me is the scale of this marine snow formation. And the Gulf of Mexico is quite a big area, and with the Mississippi River flow fertilizing the Gulf, that created more marine snow. But I guess I was just impressed at the scale of this phenomena, and then to be able to reproduce that in the laboratory time and time again and really be able to poke around and see what was going on also kind of surprised me, and just makes me more excited to do more things. So yeah, it's all good. For me, I think it's really powerful. Marine snow is a very visible impact that there's been some kind of disruption on the environment. So if someone is a first responder, they're going to see it. It's not disguised, it's not invisible. It's a really clear evidence that there's been a disruption in the environment. So I feel that allows them to modify how they respond to something like a spill or some other kind of environmental disaster. The other important thing is that this marine oil snow is taking the oil away from the surface ocean and essentially burying it. And as a first responder, you need to know, okay, I need to get out there really quickly, and this is where I need to act, because if I don't do this quickly, it's just going to get back into the sediments, and that might impact corals and other things. The other really nice thing is that we're finally talking to responders, and responders are talking to us, and we're also finding a common language, and I think that's very important. I care a lot about the first responders. I work with them on whenever there is an event, and we now have a mutual understanding and a mutual respect, and trying to work together when something like this happens. Many years ago when we had spills, I'd get a call from, for example, from the Coast Guard. A guy would jump in to rescue someone or something and call me and say, the water tasted really funny, what do you think's going on? And there was very little I could do to help him. Now, instantly, you know, get me some water, I'll do this, you do this, and that's fantastic because they're risking their lives to protect our lives, and yet very little is done to help them. And I feel through this research we now have a mechanism to also help our first responders, and that wasn't there before, and finally we have that mechanism. So that for me is good stuff, so it makes it worthwhile.